our perspective has always been here is that tariffs in and of themselves, they're just a tool. And they're a tool to achieve an agenda. And generally, the way that tariffs are generally used, at least in modern times, as a mechanism in which to shield or build a domestic industry. Or maybe not even an industry, a specific, an industry. I would go that narrow. So like we want to make sure that we're producing enough steel in this country. We want to make sure that we're producing semiconductors. Or we realized during COVID that we have a problem in semiconductors. If China shuts down, we're going to have no semiconductors, or we're not going to have any chips, and we're going to have no cars, and we're not going to have computers. And so we need to build that industry here. And so we will put tariffs on products like that coming into this country. But on the other hand, we'll also incentivize and build factories, like give money to build factories. Now, of course, the way you would sequence that would be we have a plan to build factories, to train workers to make this stuff, or whatever is involved. We're going to institute that plan. And it's going to take 6 months to a year, 2 years to get those factories built. And then we're going to put the squeeze on these products coming in so that this industry happens. Or maybe we roll it out a little bit. I mean, it's obvious how you sequence these things. The Trump administration didn't do any of that. It's not even clear what the goal is to any of this. But here to explain it to you, because none of us have the sort of the brain capacity to understand this. We need to bring in an expert, someone whose keen mind and love of ideas is able to wrap their heads around this and explain the one dynamic that you don't realize. If tariffs are so bad, why do they exist?
If tariffs are so bad, then why do they have them? So it might not be that tariffs are inherently horrible. Tariffs are horrible when you are on the receiving side of the bad end of the tariff. Trump is trying to tariff so we can eliminate tariffs. And we just told you what's happening in Vietnam and Argentina and Israel and Italy and a couple other countries, and apparently 50 other countries and the European Union that are now coming back to the table. So there's few people that are arguing for tariffs for the sake of tariffs. Yes, I want more tariffs, and I want them to tariff more and them to tariff more in the world.
We should say that all the reporting that is available says that these people are willing to negotiate, these different countries. Obviously, China has just levied a 104% reciprocal tariff against this. Canada has levied a tariff. But there are other countries that are interested in negotiating, Philippines, several others, that are basically saying, like, we're calling, but nobody's answering the phone.
I want to do the tariffs instead.
Dave is a smart guy, but I just like tariffs. I like tariffs. I've always liked tariffs. I want to read this quote that's going around from, I think it was a piece written about Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn was under the first Trump administration. Cohn was a Treasury, right? Or was he wasn't Commerce Secretary. I think it was Treasury. He was one of the early ones to leave the administration, I think. And this is a retelling of what Cohn said to Donald Trump. Why don't we manufacture things at home, Lindsay asked. We're a manufacturing country. I'm not sure who that refers to. But of course, the United States manufactured things, but reality did not match the vision in Trump's mind. The president clung to an outdated view of America: locomotives, factories with huge smokestacks, workers busy on assembly lines. Cohn assembled every piece of economic data available to show that American workers did not aspire to work in assembly factories. Each month, Cohn brought Trump the latest job openings and labor turnover survey called JOLTS. conducted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He realized he was being an a-hole by rubbing it in because each month was basically the same, but he didn't care. Mr. President, can I show this to you? Cohn fanned out the pages of data in front of the president. See, the biggest levers of levers, people who leave, of jobs, people leaving voluntarily, was from manufacturing. I don't get it, Trump said. Cohn tried to explain. I can sit in a nice office with air conditioning and a desk, or stand on my feet 8 hours a day. Which would you do for the same pay? Cohn added, people don't want to stand in front of a 2,000-degree blast furnace. People don't want to go into coal mines and get black lung. For the same dollars or equal dollars, they're going to choose to do something else. Trump wasn't buying it. Several times, Cohn just asked the president, why do you have these views? I just do. Trump replied, I've had these views for 30 years. Well, that doesn't mean they're right, Cohn said. I had the view for 15 years I could play professional football. It doesn't mean I was right.
He's the chief economic advisor.
He was the chief economic advisor. I guess he wasn't, he was head of, the National Council of, all right, let's go back to Dave Rubin.
And Israel and Italy and a couple other countries, and apparently 50 other countries and the European Union that are now coming back to the table. So there's few people that are arguing for tariffs for the sake of tariffs. Yes, I want more tariffs, and I want them to tariff more and them to tariff more, and then we're all going to pay more for everything. I'm not really hearing much of that argument. But if tariffs are bad, then why do they all do it? So you might understand why the markets are struggling right now, because Trump is trying to even the playing field. I think I used this analogy last week. You ever play Monopoly when you're a kid?
Oh, pause it. Before we go into his dumb argument about evening the playing field, let's be clear. They're not even, the tariffs that we're imposing on these other countries are not even one-to-one on the tariffs that other countries have. There's a reason why we can't sell F-250s in Europe. It is because the roads are smaller. You would not be able to drive an F-250 or an F-150 for that matter, or really almost any one of every single pickup truck that is made in America, short of maybe an old Ford Ranger.
Driving a Cybertruck in Bruges.
You cannot drive through these cities in Europe. The roads are just too small. But that is factored into the tariff that we levy on them, because they consider that a non-tariff trade barrier. And there's a whole host of things like that that are encountered in this. And so we're not even putting reciprocal tariffs on them. But Rubin doesn't understand, because Rubin doesn't care. I mean, he's just trying to justify this.
Well, you haven't let him do his metaphor yet.
Okay, but here's his metaphor. And this metaphor is to explain how you even things out.
This analogy last week. You ever play Monopoly when you're a kid and you're playing Monopoly, you got a couple friends around the Monopoly board, and somehow the guy who's also the banker always has a little more cash than everybody. He can somehow buy all those hotels on Baltic Avenue and turn it into Atlantic Avenue.
Who in this analogy is the guy who has access to more cash than anybody else? Who is that? If the Monopoly board and all the players are the world, who is the guy who has the most cash? I mean, it's America, right? Is that what it's? So that guy is America. I'm just trying to figure out the analogy here.
I mean, Monopoly, a game, very consciously an analogy itself of monopoly capitalism. So it's hard to sort of say, well, it's other countries and it's about tariffs. No, they were showing how capitalism works.
Okay, but put aside what the actual game is, because it's not that deep of it's really just about a game for him. He doesn't understand what Monopoly is about. He hasn't made that connection. But there's somebody who has control of the bank. That would be, who controls the world currency?
Well, Singapore, clearly.
It's the United States. All right, so let's just go back and follow this. The United States is the one who controls the world's currency. Go ahead.
So the banker always has a little more cash than everybody. He can somehow buy all those hotels on Baltic Avenue and turn it into Atlantic Avenue. And then you start realizing, oh, every time I turn around or pee, this guy's taking a little cash. That's basically what's been happening here. And then what happens? Then you throw the board, you hit him with it, you force some of those hotels down his throat. We've all been there. That's what's been going on here. So unless you want Trump to do that to you, come to the table, people. Rumble Premium, and then more on just the general state of lunacy.
So he doesn't realize in his own analogy that we're the one who's getting hit with the board.
And the reason that they keep the money is that we're buying their things. It's not some sneaky, like...
Somebody on the IM said, obviously, the banker in this metaphor is naturally transgender athletes. Right. Of course.
Not the richest man in the world who has factories.
Let's just take a peek into what's going on in the real world, the one that Dave Rubin does not inhabit. The one where even like his mixed metaphors or improper analogies don't exist. This is the one where people have to buy sneakers.
The spot here, but just ballparking. If a $100 pair of sneakers costs $100 made currently, whether it's in China, Vietnam, or Indonesia, if it was made in the U.S., how much would that pair of sneakers cost?
$300 or $400 easily.
Yeah.
In fact, we've even just looked at the tariffs coming into place tonight at midnight. A $150 pair of running shoes will be $230, right? Wow. And that's coming from overseas sources without U.S. labor.
Tariffs.
That's just with the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Folks will feel that, Matt.
Oh, yeah, I think they will, unless they don't realize that somebody's playing Monopoly somewhere and taking money from the till.
Yeah, good luck. There's going to be a robot factory that's going to spring up to make all your running shoes.
That's the other thing. Like, they're going around saying there's going to be like, what? Can we do this in a half an hour? What we really need, this is, I just want to pitch this one thing because I've heard nobody talk about this. We get a huge 3D printer and it prints an entirely different world.
Yeah, who needs to go to Mars? Just make another world.
Yeah. We could just make it a whole nother planet where we're the only people on it. And then we'll be fine.
Yeah, like New Balance actually does have some made in UK and made in America lines. And I'm not even sure of how they source all the materials to assemble those, but they make them in the United States. They're $200 to $250 shoes already.
Yes, and to have to build new capacity to do, I mean, this is just absurd. Also, the other thing that you should understand about this is that when the initial inputs into a supply chain go up, so for instance, let's say you have you sell food products and you buy your bags, maybe some of your ingredients from China. And that goes up, well, 104%. You add that cost to your manufacturing, you sell it to a distributor. The way that the distributor takes their cut, it's not a fixed figure, it is a percentage. So when you raise your price, it exponentially gets raised. If something I produced cost me $5 yesterday, and today it cost me 10, when it gets to the distributor, they don't just say, okay, well, we take 10%, we're going to take that 50 cents. They say we take 10%, that's another $1. So that product that was $5 yesterday and cost me $10 to make today, now instead of costing $5.50, costs $11. And then when that distributor sends it to the retail outlet, they also have a percentage markup. It's not a fixed figure. We don't add 25 cents. We add 25%. So these prices will exponentially grow. All right. Well, I guess we'll see.
I'm not sure who I believe, Dave Rubin or the other guy.
Oh, the guy on CNN?
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, he's just a footwear distributor retailer.
He's got tariff derangement syndrome.
And here's the other thing. I also have no doubt that that guy who's on CNN is like, we have an excuse to raise prices again. And so everybody's going to raise their prices. Then they're going to say it's the tariffs. Because here's another secret. Corporate America don't give a F. If they feel they can get away with charging you more because they have the cover of these tariffs, they'll do that too.
Yeah, the big corporations are going to do that, and the smaller ones are going to die out because they don't have the capacity to.
They all remember how they made money hand over fist during COVID, and they could jack up prices and keep them inflated for longer, even after their logistics issues went away, because they had the cover of COVID. They had a built-in excuse. And that created a little bit more elasticity on what people were willing to spend. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. Democrat from Colorado, Joe Neguse, at the House Rules Committee hearing that was about 11 hours long, talking about that whaler tax cut that bought Lisa Murkowski.
They did a child care boost to the CDC, TC, and FSAs. The CHIPS and Science Act tax credit was adjusted in this bill, and also the charitable deduction.
I think you're missing one.
Which one is that?
Whalers.
What's that?
A new tax break for whalers, right? Whalers. Am I?
Are you talking about allowing someone who
Fishermen.
uses a harpin to deduct the cost of that harpin?
Correct.
That's included. It's a business expense.
It's a new tax break,
It's
right?
a business expense that was capped at $10,000, and now they can deduct it.
Up to $50,000, right?
Yes.
Yes. Why was that added? I think we all know.
You'd
right?
have to talk to the senators.
I'd have to talk to the senators. I don't know. It was kind of convenient, Chairman Smith, that was the one addition that you omitted from that list you provided. But I think I would
Probably more that I
Well,
left off
that may
here.
be the case. I think it's emblematic of the broken process that the Senate engaged in. That as we go through this 900-page bill, we will find a variety of different provisions that different senators inserted for their own purposes. And of course, one of them was this whaling tax deduction for the 160 or so people that would be able to claim that in the state of Alaska, so that one of the senators from Alaska would feel comfortable voting for the bill. I don't think that that's, in my view, the way this process should unfold. But in any event, while we're having this colloquy, Chairman Smith,
Is that all it took?
I'm not sure.
mean,
Yeah.
Wait, she's a cheap date. If that's what
So,
it took, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we talked a bit.
A little Worcestery for McGovern there. No, it also took the whole SNAP exemption. This is where, Murkowski really.
Well, relative to Hawley, especially, like, what did he get for Missourians? He wrote a whole op-ed for New York Times.
I
saying,
think
"Don't
somebody
cut
framed
Medicaid."
his op-ed that we shouldn't cut Medicaid and gave it to him as a gift, and that is all it took.
I'll just say, I tweeted out in June, this guy will 1,000% cave on Medicaid cut, stone cold lock. And I rarely talk in terms of gambling, but, congrats to anybody who put money down on that.
There should be a Twitter bot that just follows your predictions and places bets on poly markets.
Live from the
I'm seeing an update as of 1:20 today that Andy Harris, chair of the House Freedom Caucus, says he's remained opposed to the Senate bill. He called on Trump to order the senators back to town for further negotiations. I mean, the House just opened up a series of procedural votes on the legislation, and we will see if it passes. But I mean, this is during the Obama years. Obama was prepared to cut Social Security benefits by rejiggering the cost of living algorithm that would cut Social Security to make some grand bargain with the Republicans. And at that time, progressives who were against this deal had to hope that the Freedom Caucus was not willing to take yes for an answer. Let's make it clear. These people are doing it because they are so horrific that this bill is not horrific enough for them. And to a certain extent, like, it's almost like their function. We're always going to be, it's like, they say, like, people always spend, 10% more than they earn or whatever it is. Their ask is always 10 to 15% more horrific than the Republicans can produce, which is, probably in some respects why the party has moved so far to the right. But again, when you're talking about a 30 to 50 person caucus, it's like 1/4 of their caucus, of the Republican caucus in the House. And so they have some power because they are true believers.
We have this number ready here. This is for the House of Representatives phone, 202-224-3121. Good time to get in their ear about it.
100%. Both the Democrats, but if you are represented by a Republican, particularly a Freedom Caucus Republican, if you're in a red state, a red district, this is your opportunity to actually have an impact. Call them and tell them, this breaks all the House rules about spending. There's not enough cuts in this. And tell them, like, you're going to, Elon Musk is going to primary you. This is the time to really go to town. Now, for those of you out there who think that the Democrats in the Senate were feckless, that they did not in any way communicate properly to the American public what was going on here, that they couldn't even pressure someone like Lisa Murkowski, who I think is technically an independent, or she ran as a write-in candidate in Alaska. If you think that the Democratic leadership in the Senate's not doing something, well, have I got news for you. The so-called one big beautiful bill? Well, just because Donald Trump still calls it that doesn't mean that's the name. And why is that the case? Because of this American patriot.
I raise a point of order against page 1, lines 3 to 5 of the pending amendment, which violates section 313B1A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974.
The point of order is sustained. The text will be stricken.
Oh, wow.
There it is. The name of the bill is no longer one big beautiful bill. It's just known as Senate, whatever number it is. And Chuck Schumer is really steaming that Trump is still using the name one big beautiful bill.
The one that everyone sort of learned and that they hate. We're just going to change the name on that. When I heard the name was changed, I thought it was like how Blackwater changed their name to like Invisidyne or whatever the heck to throw people off the trail. This doesn't seem like it's helpful.
It's almost not helpful. It really is like, I'm glad he did it. But the problem is that seems to be all he did. Taco Trump. Taco Trump can't call the bill. Big, beautiful bill.
We won't rest.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
This guy, Mario Guevara, is a Spanish language journalist who is based in Atlanta. And he covers immigration raids fairly regularly. And he was covering the No Kings protests down in Georgia. He was born in El Salvador, but he's been in the United States for over 2 decades. And he was arrested during protests in an Atlanta suburb over the weekend. By all accounts, he's still in ICE detention right now. This is the administration that talks about free speech, but he ended up recording his arrest and live streaming it. Again, still in ICE detention, a journalist. This is the body camera footage of him getting arrested at this protest. Hey, sir. Can you step on the sidewalk? Sir, on the sidewalk. So this is, you're seeing body camera footage here.
Officer, I'm a member of the media, officer.
I'm a member of the media. He has a press jacket on.
Let me finish.
For people listening, they're cuffing him. Will you take my phone, please? It's for my work. Don't leave it there, please. Thank you, officer. He's thanking him. Can you put it in my bag?
Are we just the West Bank now?
Basically.
You were warned multiple times not to get in the road. But I did. That's why you're doing reporting, officer. You're reporting, officer.
You were warned multiple times not to get in the road. Can we go back? I want to. There's some ads on there, but if we can, I just want to see the beginning of this footage again. Sorry. This is unbelievable. That was June 14th. The police were forced to basically release it because it was so insane. He was then taken into ICE custody after this. This is, and I've covered protests before. You have to stand in the middle of the street to get the footage that you need on occasion. Just the beginning to show what he was, the beginning of it, if we don't mind. Yeah, so he's just, look out for the guy in the red shirt here. On the sidewalk, he's saying, but he's on the grass. He's just trying to film the operation. He's filming them walking backwards, basically. And then they just go at him because he goes and stands in the street as soon as they could.
Okay. Let me finish.
All right, we got it. But I just wanted to show that as they wanted any excuse to get the guy, the journalist that was filming their operations. And we're seeing more and more of like these kinds of just incidents. I mean, with Brad Lander, who we had on the show yesterday, who was there as an observer. Anybody that is getting or shining a light on what ICE and what immigration enforcement looks like is being cracked down on by the authorities. I mean, this is police state stuff.
It's a Gestapo. We're turning ourselves into the West Bank. And all of the politicians that support ICE, including the ones who did the, well, thank you, ICE, we love all the things you do in the community, still bipartisan. Would be interested to see what the leadership of the Democrats say about ICE in general now. They're just turning us into the fucking West Bank. And it's disgusting.
Yep. He's being charged with 3 misdemeanors: obstruction of law enforcement, unlawful assembly, and being a pedestrian in the roadway. It's the misdemeanor element. Like, they're already trying to reclassify all of these immigrants who are coming here and seeking asylum as criminals because they crossed the border with an asylum claim, which is not a crime. If they were to have crossed the border without the proper documentation, it is a civil violation, not a criminal one. But they're attacking people. Do we have these charts here just while we're on this topic? Austin Coker, I keep encouraging people to subscribe to his Substack. I've gotten a few family members too, and they're like into it. It's a great way to track some of this immigration data. He put together these two graphics that just show the data on asylum adjudications in the United States, and you see this massive increase in asylum cases being decided right at the end here. There was a spike in the back half of the Trump administration, and then it dropped off a cliff because of COVID. But you see,
I mean, in part, like, what are those asylum cases coming from? And some of them Venezuela, like,
right,
displacements that are foreign policy. Again, Chris Murphy was involved in this, was bipartisan. Decided, let's destabilize governments and, then reap the rewards of it, I guess, politically.
And asylum cases being decided and increasing isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you look to this second chart here, it shows that they're just completely denying the existence of basically asylum claims. So this is the percent of asylum cases denied in court each month, and it's hit a peak of nearly 80% of claims being denied. This is the death of the internationally recognized right to asylum. And
when did that start getting recognized again? What was the whole circumstances we decided? Oh yeah, refugees fleeing horrible situations. We should probably let people in. Would it have anything to do with, I don't know, the Holocaust?
Yeah,
not supposedly helping Israel support. Oh, we need to help Israel bomb Iran for the Holocaust. How about we just continue letting refugees in? Like, maybe that's the way to do it.
And before we made that determination, we were turning away Jews who were fleeing the Holocaust. We had boats come to our shores that we forced to turn around because of anti-Semitism in this country.
We don't want you here. We would like you to go to a colony that we will help you to help us conquer the world in, the next 70 years. That was literally Balfour, though. I don't like the Jews here in the UK. We'll send them over there, and they can be our little colonial outpost. Look, we don't want you here, but we have a great idea for you as we're losing grip of this part of the world that we've held on to for this century.
So, it's scary stuff, folks, but there you have it.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
The fact that Musk owns this major communications platform, and Zuckerberg now with his broccoli haircut on the frickin' Joe Rogan Experience, acting like he's a TikToker, they're all genuflecting. They all, I mean, this TikTok ban, if it goes through or if it's sold to somebody that Zuckerberg can work with, Instagram, that's their biggest competitor. Like, there's a lot on the line. And of course, the antitrust lawsuit about their purchase of Instagram and WhatsApp. But the whole salute thing, it's not the number one story in the end. But I do feel like the reaction has been indicative of the immense challenges that we face in this corroded communications environment. This billionaire owns this tech platform, and he scared a lot of outlets out of even talking about the fact that he appeared to allegedly do a Sig Heil at the inauguration. And it doesn't really even matter what the truth is, right? His heart goes out to you, yes. It doesn't matter what the truth is to an extent, because his fans and that alt-right, like almost Gamergate 4chan community that Bannon empowered and saw as the vision for Trump's base, and it's played out. It's what's happened. They're all they're post-truth people. They're postmodernists that believe that you just make your truth by speaking it, and there's no objective truth. I feel like because our politics are so captured by big money, because people feel like their voice is not heard democratically, and I include Biden in that, by not, stepping aside for a primary, that made people's voices feel like they weren't heard, and he didn't hear them on Gaza either. I feel like Trump's greatest accomplishment is the nihilism that he's engendered, and the fact that there's no objective truth and people don't know how to use their power in our society anymore, democratically or with their voice, because it's so corroded.
And that means that all the old sort of standard values of like, sorry, the dog is like demanding attention.
That's okay.
All the old standard values of like humility or shame or empathy or mercy, in the words of the bishop, who they were so angry dared to like preach this very basic Christian message of Christian tolerance. All those virtues are kind of out the window. It's like, maybe the strongest survive, and the biggest liar and the person who's willing to be the most shameless and just go out there and get yours. I mean, that's the crypto ethos too, right? It's like, it's just no holds barred. Might makes right. You see this in foreign affairs as well, with what Israel's been able to get away with over the previous year. And it feels very much like that is the era that we live in. And part of what is so depressing, and, I'm like, we're going to keep fighting, and you never know where opportunity and hope presents itself. Like, there's always openings that emerge. But part of what is so depressing too is the level of capitulation, the lack of really, the Democratic Party is just so pathetic, right? They're ready to just capitulate and do kinder, gentler fascism by and large. Like, that seems to be the direction that they are going to go in. They're going to sign on to the Lake and Riley Act and swear that they're truly border hawks like Trump, and effectively adopt his worldview, sort of like Clinton adopted Ronald Reagan's worldview and consolidated the neoliberal era. So with some exceptions, like I would say AOC has been great, Bernie Sanders has been great. There are some exceptions, but overall, the Democratic Party has not had a credible organized resistance. Obviously, the media organizations are all like terrified. CNN is shifting Jim Acosta to the middle of the night or whatever. You had the George Stephanopoulos, ABC settled that big lawsuit. You have Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, that whole situation. You even actually had a story out today. I don't know if you guys saw this, Columbia Journalism Review talked to Paul Krugman. He left the New York Times because he felt like he was being throttled and censored there. Was that part of a pre-Trump capitulation as well? Joe and Mika going down to Mar-a-Lago. So even your like liberal style MSNBC resistance is by and large dead and gone. There are so few voices that are out there to really point out what is going on and offer, most importantly, offer an alternative vision, offer a different fork in the road that leads us away from authoritarianism and fascism and constant climate horror and turmoil. It's difficult to see how we really get it together and really have a sort of forceful resistance against these powers.
You answered some of like what I wanted to talk about at the end here, and how we push back on this. I think there's a little more time to develop, and obviously it's bleak. I think it's going to get a little bleaker before it gets a little bit less bleak. And that's what, we're really aiming high for less bleakness by, over the course of the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about like that, your approach to this. I mean, you bring it up a little bit in terms of like what's going on with the media. There's a lot of these outfits that capitulate. There's, like Bezos with his endorsement. That was the first sign to me. It's not like the Washington Post endorsement was going to make a difference anyways. But the idea that his first reaction is like, okay, we're going to capitulate. We're going to just make it clear. And I think CBS is even also thinking about giving them money from an interview, giving Trump money, defamation money from an interview, because Harris, as the candidate, said something that Trump said was not real.
Oh my God.
And there's no case there, obviously, but they're just like, $13 million or whatever it is. It's just, it's a tribute to Caesar. But
yeah,
what
was it? Is it Amazon that paid Melania $40 million for her documentary,
you're
right?
Everywhere. This is coming at a time where, as much local media has been, falling apart for years and disappearing and this and that, we're at the worst ebb of it. Maybe it gets worse from here. How, and you mentioned CNN and MSNBC are about to be spun off by their parent companies. They were playing this in a while. So CNN is not going to have, is going to be, it's like becoming quickly just like an online, is going to end up being like mostly an online thing, maybe 3 or 4 years from now. MSNBC is not going to have the NBC resources anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be a completely different sort of animal in 2 or 3 years. And so this within this like sort of media environment, right? Like you have a couple of very big shows. How do you guys, and you can address sort of the media environment, but also are you sitting back and saying, because we're sort of working on this and nibbling around the edges, but as you know, it's very difficult when you're doing a daily show to be able to step back and take a sort of a 6-month, 12-month, whatever look at how are you going about saying like this strain of stuff is the most important, right? Because the naturalized citizen thing, it's hugely important, but it also seems to be blatantly unconstitutional. So it will attract a lot of attention, but may not go anywhere. Meanwhile, Russell Vogt, the least sexiest of cabinet members or Senate confirmees, he may be one of the most important people in the government. I mean, so how do you decide? Like, do you have a formula? What is it? What are you guys doing to sort of assess what's the most important thing to follow when we're getting news like out of a fire hydrant?
Yeah, it's not an easy task on a day-to-day basis as you're trying to plan a show, et cetera. I think probably tying together how so many of these crises are driven by inequality and oligarchy. That way you have a coherent frame that people can really wrap their heads around. It's something people are already deeply, deeply concerned about. I think it's a real Achilles heel for Trump specifically and the Republican Party. I mean, the imagery on Inauguration Day, like a coherent political movement should be able to really use that over and over again. But he's going to disappoint. Egg prices are already going up. Tariffs are going to spike prices even higher. If you truly have mass deportation, even just the threat of mass deportation is likely to spike food prices higher. They are not going to do anything to deal with the cost of living crisis at all. They're likely to make it much, much worse at the same time as giving tax cuts to the rich. I think hammering home that message around oligarchy and using that as the political framework is probably the best direction to go in. And obviously AI ties into that. The climate crisis ties into that. People's just day-to-day, living and material conditions tie into that. So that's how I'm thinking about it. I mean, I'm trying to be a little more vocal and a little bit more, I guess, maybe aggressive in both my social media and how I approach the breaking points and just the way I'm articulating things in general, because I think that fight is required right now and the stakes are incredibly high. And I've been heartened to see you guys, like your channel's doing great. Kyle's channel is taking off, like David Dole, Mike Figueredo, people who are, have a really great message and are not cowed and are, not afraid and bending the knee, et cetera. That's been very heartening to me because I think probably the most important project right now, and this is something I think you guys have long done a great job at, a better one than I have, is taking liberals who are right now disaffected and helping to radicalize them into a true leftist worldview. And there's a lot of liberal disappointment with MSNBC and Washington Post and the Pod Save Bros and the New York Times, and their political leaders have let them down. Like when those base voters were talking about fascism and saw Trump as a fascist threat, they actually meant it. Whereas many of these media figures and outlets were just mouthing the words to garner an audience. And so, even as I am largely quite depressed about the moment that we're in, I do think there is a large opportunity there for channels like yours and, to the extent I have a voice out there as well, to try to articulate this alternative approach to combating fascism, which of course reaches into our own American history with FDR and the New Deal. And obviously of many people now that Bernie Sanders can never run for president again, being like, oh, it turns out that guy had some good ideas, et cetera. But to me, that's the project that kind of gives me life and keeps me going right now in this moment, which is very grim. And I will say one thing just to put out there on a hopeful note, as I know you guys need to wrap up and move on, but Branko Marcetic had a good column in for Jacobin about Trump, yes, he has a lot of power right now, but there are also a lot of weaknesses in the coalition. He did only win by 1.5 points. Like, he's coming into office with what for him is a pretty good approval rating, but historically for presidents, including Joe Biden, is quite a low approval rating. He's a lame duck. And so, this could end up being kind of the peak of his cultural and political power. So that's certainly a possibility as well as things play out. One thing I'll be watching is we mentioned that federal court decision on the birthright citizenship. They immediately smack it down. One thing we'll be looking to too is does he adhere to that? Because since he has immunity, even if it went up to the Supreme Court, it's also possible that he says, you in what army? Right. So those are some of the things that I'll be watching out for too, is how far he's willing to push the bounds of the power that he has.
I mean, I think going into this, they knew they had 2 years. They had 2 years. This Congress, this House, this Senate, that's maybe they're wrong. They may have 4 years of it, but they go into it with 2 years. So they're going to try and jam everything into this thing. And I think, I hope you're right. I think Trump's political power may be fleeting, but once they get into these, once they destroy the civil service, to rebuild that, and you live down in that area, you're going to start seeing neighbors going I'm out of this business. I'm no longer working at the EPA as a lawyer anymore. I'm going to, they're just to go in and demoralize, the job of going in and demoralizing an agency has to be, if you are a sadistic and hateful conservative, the funnest thing in the world to do, because you can't fail almost. It's I'm just going in with an iron suit to do demo in this apartment building. And it's maybe I'll do it in an efficient way. Maybe I won't, but some things I want to smash that mirror and take a Sawzall to this couch, and that's it. It's going to be ugly, I think.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy too, because then they can turn around. You want to grow the government. Look at how ineffective the government is. It's
100%.
Because you stripped it down.
Yep.
So there's nothing left. So of course it can't deliver for people because you destroyed it. You intentionally destroyed it. Avian flu, we didn't even mention that. Another thing is they're, attacking public health agencies and getting ready to install RFK Jr., et cetera. There's a lot to be concerned about there too.
Yep. Well,
on that note,
well, plenty to talk about.
No, but it's important. I think, the fact that you and Kyle are resisting so aggressively, the disaffected liberal thing too is important, where I want our commentary on our end to be both intersectional. I think that's and defensive in on every front, in terms of not throwing any group over the bus, right? And I think that it's a different throwing every group is being thrown over the bus. Actually, yes. And I think that's another thing I'm trying to focus on as well. And we'll see. But I appreciate you coming on today, Crystal. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I'm having a coughing moment here. I'm just so overcome with emotion at getting to talk to you guys.
Appreciate
all good.
Appreciate the talk. Thanks so much. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
This story, Signalgate, it's a shorthand. I think this story has a bit of a shelf life because it's of how sloppy they are. How they're just this frat house group chat coordinating bombing campaigns. It's just absurd. And also it's the fact that they keep emphasizing how this is about meritocracy, this administration. No more DEI, no more preferential treatment for people who are not deserving of their jobs, who don't do a good job. They're just being hired because they're black or they're gay or they're Latino. Ugh. No, we're just appointing the most qualified people, like a Fox News weekend host to be the Secretary of Defense, who decides to eagerly participate in a group chat in which they share war plans on a commercially available texting app, Signal.
Well, I mean, that's significant, less because Signal isn't sort of secure, more in that the devices that you can get Signal on can't be secured the way that actual devices that are meant to be, like what they say, the skiff or those sorts of fancy things, which also makes it easier to track for the sort of government accountability requirements that sort of they wanted to lock Hillary Clinton up for flouting in 2016.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, they're presumably using their private phone numbers.
Of course.
Because Signal is banned. Politico reported a few days ago that Signal is banned from government phones. And then Der Spiegel, this German paper, found their personal phone numbers on the internet with like ease, meaning that any hacker, anybody, a foreign government, whatever, if they have their phone number, they can presumably install spyware remotely and intercept these communications even with the encryption protection from Signal. So
because what would happen is, like you said, put a bug on the device and it just tracks every sort of keystroke and the display and that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So this is a major problem, but and there seems to be no denying it. They've been caught lying in 4K, but Trump will try.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the Signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this.
What?
Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal, and we use Signal, and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
What does that mean, a defective platform? How is that possible?
That proves our point, though, sir.
Yeah, why are you using it? You need to be using the government, like, heavily secure computer systems to be making these kinds of decisions and to be communicating in this way. What do you mean Hegseth has nothing to do with it? He was one of the most eager participants in this group chat.
Hegseth is actually probably the most in hot water because he's the one sharing, for instance, the exact time an F-18, the sort of flight bomber group would take off down to the minute.
Well,
after saying, and then saying, actually, there was nothing classified in what I said there, and then
which prompted Goldberg to release it.
Okay, bet, and it kind of seems like that, and nobody buys that. We'll play this in the fun app, but even Steven Crowder
doesn't
thinks
buy
it's
it.
Stupid.
Yeah, and here's Hegseth, thinking that he's got something here. Where he had said, and we played that, where he broke the fourth wall and said there are no war plans being shared. In this,
nobody was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans. Okay, even though they were very specific coordinates, specifics about the jets, launch points, targets,
exact timing to the minute.
Here's Hegseth trying to deny that those were war plans.
This is what we're here to do. Nobody's texting war plans.
He said it again.
This morning, out came something that doesn't look like war plans. And as a matter of fact, they even changed the title to attack plans because they know it's not war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
Jargon.
You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. I looked at them this morning. I looked at attack plans this morning. You know who does this? What we're here.
Nobody was saying that girl was passed out when I tried to have sex with her. Nobody saw her take that drink. whatever.
Nobody saw me slip anything into that drink. This is semantics, and this is really what's amazing is this is the Trump administration pushing their base to the limits of how much can you just deny basic reality,
yes,
and not take anything serious, and just expect everyone to go along with it. And it's actually kind of pushing the limit here.
I mean, you got Crowder, Dave Portnoy coming out and criticizing that. It's just like,
here's the thing, I can speak for the Houthis. If that's not, if you want to just publicize whenever F-18 jets are taking off, I think the Houthis would probably be interested in that kind of information.
Right. Right. And it's just like I think the way this news story has unfolded with their denials, the obvious lying, and then we have the actual screenshots showing obvious war plans, attack plans, whatever, clearly classified, and they're still saying to our faces that that's not what's happening. So again, I really do think that the Democratic Party is going to try to find an off-ramp to this anti-oligarchy, anti-billionaire energy that Bernie Sanders and AOC are harnessing, and other politicians like Tim Walz, et cetera, right now with their tour around the country. And so we have to be mindful of that, right? Because I don't think that we should go down a national security road to critique this administration. But that's why this story, I think, is more than that. It's about their incompetence. It's about their contempt for really governing in a way that keeps the people in mind, keeps our safety in mind. And that goes all the way, you can extend it to Doge. And the fact that they just let an unelected billionaire rifle through our most sensitive personal information in the Treasury, our health records, our financial records, our bank statements, our social security numbers, just giving it access to this guy. It's the same thing here. Just signal, war plans over this app I downloaded on the App Store.
All caps at 1415, strike drones on target, parentheses. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop.
I mean, come on. Come on.
I see war plants every day. That's not war plants, okay?
And if Waltz is the sacrificial lamb, just know that it's because both Waltz and Hegseth are total clowns, and both in any merit-based administration, both of them would be forced to resign. But Trump is going to keep Hegseth around, I'm telling you guys right now, because, and I think, Matt, you maybe made this point first, blackmail is a very valuable resource for a guy like Donald Trump. We see it with Eric Adams and what he was trying to do to get him to enforce his immigration policies. Hegseth is a blackmail-rich subject. We know this from, again, the allegations and police report that we have repeatedly referenced, the other instances of his excessive drinking leading to some questionable decision making. And I also think that's the case with RFK Jr., who has many skeletons in his closet as well. Trump sees this as a way to control people. So I think that Waltz, if anybody resigns, it'll be Waltz. But know that, like, why Hegseth is being kept around. And it's because he's so controllable, and that comes off in those messages, how wishy-washy he is. The only person raising any concerns is J.D. Vance, and that's because his ass is worried about 2028, where he thinks he's going to be president. So, total clowns and sycophants, and that's exactly what Trump wants.
Yep. Also, all done because the sort of threats to shipping that the Houthis represent, the missiles they're firing at Israel because they're doing a genocide. Right. And Israel should stop doing that, and we can have all the shipping that we want.
Yeah, and pretty sure, like, I mean, as we call them, terrorists, which it just becomes like the word has less and less meaning every time it's used by either the United States and Israel. It's just basically resistance to this genocide in many ways. But it's kind of a tale as old as time, as if, like, when there's a country that is acting in a way in your region that you disagree with, that you disrupt commerce and travel through the seas that are off your shores. Like, this is the kind of thing that has been done throughout history in warfare. And we're acting like this is this terroristic threat to the rest of us. No,
It's just barbarians doing barbarian things. It's like, well,
Right.
If your contention is that if Israel was being perfect neighbors to the Palestinians, the Houthis would still be doing that. Well, their justification would be a lot thinner. So maybe take away one of the main justifications they have, which is an exceedingly righteous one at this moment.
Which they don't. They know that that's not the case, because when there was the temporary ceasefire, you know what happened? The blockade stopped.
Yep.
So the Houthis are well within their rights to do this, and they are, I would guess, getting more popular support within Yemen for doing this, because, by the way, the United States empire not looked favorably upon by the citizens who are constantly being bombed, and we killed almost 1 million people in Iraq. You think they love us over there, or do they just hate us for our freedom?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with being the Saudis and the relationship there and that sort of stuff.
They are just barbarians.
hate us for our freedoms.
They're barely human. I mean, that's why we can bomb them. Sarcasm.
Another day, another Trump attack on basic freedoms. This time targeting Palestinian activist and green card holder Mahmoud Khalil, who helped lead the Columbia University protests. But if you go to ground.news/majority, you're going to see how some outlets paint him as a radical threat, while others call out Trump's crackdown on dissent. The story hasn't changed, but the way it's told completely changes your perspective. The exact problem our partners at Ground News solve. If you like my show, you'll love how their app and website let you compare coverage from across the spectrum with context on how political bias, financial incentives, and even blind spots shape the narrative. Especially with so much of our media being driven by billionaire and political agendas, propaganda has become one of the most powerful weapons today. But Ground News is independent and nonpartisan, only committed to helping us think critically on the news, shaping everything from public opinion to policy. And since I can't cover every single attack on our rights, I've curated feeds that track key issues and trusted sources. This way, I know I'm bringing my viewers reliable information. Go to ground.news/majority or scan my QR code to see it in action for yourself. Because this story is bigger than just one activist being detained. It's about how media bias controls what you see and think. My viewers get the same unlimited access Vantage plan that I use for nearly half the cost, knocking the price down to just $5 a month. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out. You know that story I just told earlier about construction guys, not construction, but they were construction, but doing like home renovation. And it was about 30 guys working on a job site. And ICE came up and dressed as if they were also construction workers with like belts. You know, everybody knows what the construction belt looks like, right?
Yep.
Got the hammer loop.
Tape measure, construction hat, and they arrested like 30, or they detained, they grabbed 30 of these workers. This story I heard from a friend who knows one of the foremen. And it was at a very high-end house in Hollywood of a celebrity. And that kind of news travels through circles. And I suspect those circles are even wide enough to reach all the way from Hollywood to Austin, Texas, where a huge stoner has a podcast.
ICE raids are fucking nuts, man. Watching this protest on television, it's like.
You think the raids are nuts? Or
All of it's
yeah.
nuts.
I think
The
both
protest
sides are
is
taking
nuts,
it a little
the
too
raids
hard.
are- Well,
Pause it. Both sides are taking it a little too hard. One side,
edgy comedians.
One side has, the side that has all the guns and the government power behind them and is just sweeping in and ripping families apart. Going a little far. And then the other people who are sometimes blocking traffic, That's also a problem.
Watching this protest on television, it's like
You think the raids are nuts?
all of it's
yeah.
nuts.
I
The
think both
protests
sides are
nuts,
taking it a little
the
too
raids
hard.
Well, I don't think if the Trump administration, if they're running and they said, we're going to go to Home Depot and we're going to arrest all the people at Home Depot, we're going to go to construction sites and we're going to just like tackle people at
Construction
I don't
sites.
think anybody would have signed up for that. They said, we're going to get rid of the criminals and the gang members first, right? And now we're seeing like Home Depots get raided. Like that's crazy. Ice raids are.
Yeah. It's also sort of crazy that anybody who spends any time following the news would buy into that.
Insane. I mean, Steven Crowder used to do constant look at us go to Home Depot and pointing a camera at day laborers sort of material.
Donald Trump implied on literally the day he announced that he was running for president that a plurality, if not a majority, of Mexicans in this country were rapists.
Yep, some good people, I say.
No, some. I'm sure some.
Like one or two.
I'm sure. Listen. They're not all rapists. Not all. Hashtag. They're not all rapists. But I mean, I
And if you cared about the whole, we have too many immigrant criminals here, guess what? The previous administrations were all prioritizing them for deportation this
do
entire
10
time.
minutes of like, not even 10 minutes. Just go use AI from all the guys who've come into your studio, making billions of dollars from it. My God. Or just the guy that Spotify made you hire to check things.
AI, did Obama deport criminals? Yes, this is Google AI. I wouldn't normally use it, but yes, the Obama administration deported individuals convicted of crimes. In fact, placed high priority on removing those who posed a threat to national security or public safety. Wow.
Do you come from a different planet, Matt? How did you access this information?
The AI actually accurately summarized all the things, every news article about that wasn't from like the criminal hysteria post would talk about it.
Are you from some distant time in the future?
Not that I know of.
Wow. Crazy. That's crazy.
Both sides. Those are guys from the Legion of Skanks podcast, which I'm
Is
not.
that who it is?
And I'm like, I don't know much about them, but I thought they were.
Is that
supposed to
thing
be like,
still going on?
I guess
That's been going on for years and years, right?
Maybe a little bit past its prime. If that's the edgy comic take, is both sides going a little bit too crazy on this.
Which side are the skanks on? I don't know.
Also, another comedian in their circle, Ari Shaffir, literally did a YouTube prank where he got Mexicans or Latinos out of a parking lot and deported them in a truck as a prank years ago, called The Amazing Racist.
Oh, I didn't realize that the Trump administration would do that too. That's crazy.
This is crazy.
Can't believe that.
I'd say it's fucked up. That's what I'd say.
Dude, you must be some type of edgy comedian.
Too edgy for Rogan.
Ah, they got comedies legal again.
Clowns to the left of me, jokes to the right. It's the Joe Rogan experience.
Calling from a 240 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Hi. I'm not giving my name for reasons that'll make sense in a second. I'm actually in New York. I'm sorry we're doing an Oops All New York right now, but I want to bring attention to something really important. I'm not in New York City, although I have been helping with the Zoran campaign. We have folks out in Lower Hudson Valley, right? So think Westchester County, Yonkers, etc., who are being ignored because we're all focused on New York City, which is fine, and ICE raids there. In the chaos of the politics of the moment, there have been a significant increase in ICE raids that are not being reported out here in the rest of the state. And Lower Hudson Valley and Greater Hudson Valley areas are full of long-established immigrant families, people, people who provide the services that New York City residents use because y'all don't produce a lot in the city, right? Who also need aid, attention. We have chapters and coalitions. I'm very tired. And I just need to bring attention to the fact that the rest of New York is also under attack right now.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the other day, I can't remember where I read it, but that some ICE were driven out of like Beacon and Poughkeepsie and were headed down to Kingston at one point. Listen, all I can say, I mean, as far as what we can do is if there are websites or apps that people are using to alert people, people should tell us about them and we will repeat what those websites are so you can tell folks in your community, whatnot. I think it's, you know, it's a tricky thing because on one hand, I want to say put up flyers with like a QR code so that people can get those apps. But ICE is going to smarten up. ICE is going to smarten up at one point, and they're going to start putting up their own flyers with QR codes that are going to basically help track people. That's what I worry about with that. But
oh, well, I hate to break it to you. They kind of already are out here. We've been putting up flyers to let people know their legal rights and how to identify what a proper warrant looks like in this state. And we've realized that they are infiltrating those spaces and using the QR codes that we're putting out for people to track us. We've had to like completely trash entire like neighborhood, just normal group chats. And not just like from feds. Like these are people who just literally want us to be gone and to not exist here, who are going out of their way to make those spaces unusable the moment we make them more public. So, I mean, on my end, I'm just trying to figure out how do we reach people, A, in a surveillance state, and B, when, you know, our fellow neighbors are rooting for the destruction of their own neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, social media channels, I guess, at least to let people know that ICE is in the neighborhood. But listen, if you have video, send us video.
Will do.
Send us video. We'll play the video. And if anybody's confronting ICE, if ICE is rolling up on people, send us the video. We will play it. The more that stuff gets out there, the more people see how barbaric this stuff is, the better. And the more, you know, I think a lot of these guys don't feel shame. But, you know, we can still try. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much.
Appreciate the work you're doing, too. Thank you. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.